My name is Kuftic. I'm Principal Technologist with Expedient. Very happy that you've joined us today. Today, we're going to talk about how we at Expedient can help you cloud smarter. But first, quick housekeeping note. Please enter all questions into the Q&A panel. It's about here. That helps us keep track of all the questions. If you have questions during the presentation, let us know. Our Vice President of Presales and Engineering, Rob McCafferty, is with us. He will be answering those questions live in the Q&A panel, and he and I will be answering questions live at the end. If you ask a question, you're entered to win a prize. We're helping you cloud smarter. Let's help you watch smarter too. The prize today is a 32-inch smart TV. All of this is being recorded. You'll get a link in your email. You can also go to go.expedient.com/webinar replays, youtube.com/expedient, instagram.com/_expedient, and linkedin.com/expedient. Hello, everyone on LinkedIn Live. Give us a follow on there as well. We've evolved over the last 20 years. We started in 2001 with co-location. Today, we have 12 data centers in 8 cities. We then moved into virtual co-location for virtual hosting. That's evolved into our enterprise cloud. In 2015, we released push-button DR. Today, it's the fastest failover in the business. In 2018, we released Enterprise Cloud to give our VMware workloads a true cloud experience and operating model. And last year, we released Cloud Native to power app modernization. And now in 2021, we have released our multi-cloud vision. And that brings us to our kind of initial point and kind of initial thought here. You've got a cloud initiative. Now what? Maybe the business has said, hey, we want to go to the cloud, or your CIO directors have said, the cloud is definitely this vision of the future that we want to get to. Let's go. And then you look at your applications and it doesn't look as good because you have to plan. You realize that when you look at all your applications, that not everything is a fit for every single cloud, right? I have these applications and I could put them in AWS, but that's not really a great fit for them. And I could put some of them in AWS, but then what do I do with the rest of them? Where do I fit everything? Not everything is a fit for a single cloud. And even then, you may not even own your own code. That's not a bad thing, right? Commodity off-the-shelf software is there for a reason. It helps accelerate getting to the outcome that you're looking for, right? Whether that's call recording systems, you don't want to write your own version of those for call centers. Those sorts of things are commodity off-the-shelf pieces of software for a reason, but they also don't lend themselves to landing in a hyperscale cloud world. And not only do you may not own your code, you may not have the budget or time to be able to do this, right? You may have to hire additional workforce to help refactor those applications, consultants to help you figure out where to land everything. And then it still takes time to do all of this. And that time is then taken away from the keeping the lights on operations and maintaining your applications as they sit today. It can be incredibly overwhelming. So how can we help you as Expedient? We can help you cloud smarter. What we want to do is help you land in the right cloud the first time. Because if you land in the wrong cloud the first time, it can lead to a number of problems around overspend and underutilization. So how do we do this? Well, first, we take stock of your applications. And this is on your side as a client to determine what is the criticality. You know your applications. You know whether they're prod, dev, test, how critical they are inside of prod, right? If it's down for a day, it may not be a big deal because it's a reporting system, but if it's down for a month, that can be a very big deal. So you can determine the criticality of your applications. You can also determine your ownership, right? You know who's responsible for this application. Is it a line of business? Is it a development group? Is it IT itself? Who owns this application? Who is responsible for the decisions that encompass this application and what you would like to do with this application? The other side of that ownership is where does the code, who owns the code? Is it a third-party developer that wrote this code for your business? Is it a third-party developer who sells it as a product and you have no ability to change that code at all? Or is it written in-house? Who owns the code and how flexible is that to be able to be refactored and redeployed into a hyperscale model? And finally, what is the end state that you're looking to get to? Is this a full cloud digital transformation, or do you just want to get out of your data center? What is the end state that you're looking for, and how do you align your IT changes and cloud transformations to that business goal. And we help you by helping you collect all of the data. We can do things like virtual inventories, host inventories, and even things like support inventories to help you make the best decision from an inventory perspective on what to do with your applications. Say you have a bunch of Dell PowerEdge R710s, we can say, hey, these are out of support. It's probably going to cost you a lot of money to get this replaced from a hardware standpoint. Let's help you move that forward into a cloud model and avoid those support costs. But your app is kind of like a meal. There's a number of ingredients to it, specifically those components. Is it made of SQL? Is it made of Oracle, IIS, app servers? Who wrote the code? What pieces of software are involved? Is there reporting things? What are the components of this application? And then what are the goals of what to do with that application? Let's say I have a retail site. Every year in June is our big season, our big retail season, and our website gets pummeled. But if I look at the database on the back end, the database itself is fine. It's just the web front end can't keep up with all the requests. Maybe I need to figure out a way to scale my web front end while leaving my data structures alone, because if I don't need to touch the data structures, let's not. It's a lot of risk to the business. And by doing that, I can figure out how to mix and match my technology stack. Maybe I leave my database server alone, or I move it into, say, a database as a service platform and refactor my web front end to be container-based so I can scale it out and in as I need to. This is helped by our cloud physics tool by being able to help you discover those links. We can help you figure out what's talking to what. Is my web server talking to just my app servers, or is it talking to other app servers? Like maybe the retail site talks to the payment system. And I want to make sure that the payment system is involved in this migration as well, because that payment system is now a dependency. The payment system going out there, or the web server is moving into a hyperscale cloud. If the payment system remains on-prem, you have a lot of cross-internet traffic trying to get between the payment system and your web servers just to make a transaction happen. That can be very expensive, both from a time standpoint for the end user and from a cost perspective for things like ingress and egress fees. So by helping to determine these dependencies, you avoid the roadblocks in the future. You move the payment system with the website so that everything lives in one place together and it's all contiguous, so that you avoid ingress and egress fee overcharges and make sure that your application runs at peak performance. And speaking of charges, how do you know you're spending wisely? Because I don't know about you, if you've looked at the AWS pricing calculator, the Azure pricing calculator, there's a number of line items inside of it, and they're very, very confusing. And even our calculator, if you go out to our website, expedient.com, click pricing up in the top right corner, you'll see that we have our own calculator that you can play around with. But the problem is that they're not all lined up together. I have to look in 3 different places to try and compare all of my costs. And overspending can be very, very easy, especially when you're not right-sizing your environment to go to the cloud. You can also figure out your build forecasts. How much would it cost to be able to do this in a cloud environment? Our tool can help with that. We can help you compare across the clouds, line up all of those workloads so I can see what I'm spending today, what it would be in AWS, what it would be in Azure, what it would be in Expedient, and be able to line all those costs up so you can make the right financial choice. That doesn't necessarily mean it's the right technical choice. You may want to use AWS even though it's slightly more expensive, but you're utilizing some platform as a service and your egress fees would be avoided, and that's actually a cost savings. But being able to have this financial data up front, it allows you to line up those workloads. And it allows you to do it at a per VM basis. You can see down there the 2012 R2 test VM has $1,400 to run it in private cloud, but $14,000 in AWS. You can make the right financial decisions. You can also know what's supported. Is the operating system supported? Am I landing a 2008 VM into AWS? That's not supported, so even though it would run, I don't have any help on the backside. We can also help you determine if it will fit or not. I don't know how many of you have tried to move a couch through an L-shaped turn. It's very difficult. But here's the thing. Hyperscale has T-shirt sizes, 2 CPUs, 4 gigs of RAM, this much storage, because they want to make sure that everything is optimally sized for their infrastructure. Your environment doesn't have that. You might have a 4 CPU, 8 gig of RAM VM because that's the way that you built the VM. Maybe it needs more CPU than RAM, and it doesn't fit those T-shirt sizes. And trying to line that up can be really, really hard. And using the wrong size can become very, very expensive. We can help you size all of this right up front. You can find the deep savings in your environment today and see how many of your VMs are oversized and save some resources there. But then you can bring those savings into the cloud and find what is going to make the most sense when you move it into a hyperscale model so that you avoid that overspend. We can help you cloud smarter across the board. And this is all really great in slide form, but I think Rob, I'm gonna have Rob come in, and Rob's gonna do a demo of the Cloud Physics tool so that we can actually see what this looks like in real time and be able to bring this forward. Hi, Rob, how are you doing today?
I'm great, AJ, how are you?
I'm good. I'm gonna stop my share. I'll let Rob share now.
All right, you have to enable that.
Oh no, there you go.
Yeah, thanks. So what you're seeing here is the tool that AJ talked about that we use for collecting the data. This is a really simple deployment. It allows us just to deploy a very small, easy virtual appliance out into your environment, and within minutes, start to see some results come in. And then the other side of that is, well, there's a lot of tools that can collect data. It's using Expedient's expertise to do something with that data to help you make sense of the decision. A couple screens I'll highlight here. First is this host analysis screen. This is a real quick and easy way to take a look at all of the hosts in your environment, understand when either the ESX version or the hardware that you're running goes end of life or end of support. So there won't be any surprises when you go to upgrade to the next version, or you're going to have to go to management and say, oh, we forgot that these hosts were end of life, and now we need money to buy new ones. That data is pretty easy to consume here, and we can expand one of those older hosts and really clearly see that this host model does not support ESX 6.7 or 7.0. So we have to do something to rectify that situation here in the near future, whether it's buy hardware, move to the cloud, come up with a hybrid model, something like that. Another card that I'll show you, very similar to that one, is on the guest OS side of things. Right, it's real easy for that old 2003 box to kind of linger out there, and everybody forgot about it, and it's running an application that may or may not be critical to the business, but the tool can highlight those for us as well, and let us get some visualization into the operating systems that have become end of life or end of support in our environment, and figure out different ways to deal with those. Right, some cloud providers will allow you to run those OSs in their platform in kind of a best effort support. Others won't even allow you to deploy them. So it helps with that decision as well. The third screen that I'll show you on this tab, and probably really the most important when you're thinking about making a cloud migration, is making sure that your workloads are right sized for the application that they're running. And when you're running in an on-premise environment, it's really easy to over provision resources, because you're buying big pools of storage, big pools of RAM and compute in your cluster. But when you move to a cloud model and you're paying based on consumption, having those workloads right sized is really, really important, or else your costs can run away really quickly. So what this screen allows us to take a look at is, well, what if we right sized just to the peak usage of each of those workloads that are running in our environment, and telling us on an environment overall, as well as on a per VM basis, how can we resize that VM to get the best performance for the best dollar, right? And if we can go and save 376 gig of RAM and 200 CPUs in an environment, right? If you're buying hardware, that's a whole host potentially, or if you're going out into the cloud world, right? That's a considerable amount of money over the life of an environment. And then lastly on that screen, it also takes a look at the storage in the environment and helps us make some recommendations and predictions there, not only based on performance, but on capacity and usage. So that screen kind of sums up what we can see from an inventory and data collection perspective. The other thing that AJ showed you that I want to highlight a little bit is this dependency map screen. So what this tool allows us to do is kind of visualize how all of our applications or sites or departments are communicating with one another, and then use the way that things communicate to help us make decisions. So what we can do here is we can go out and select all of the VMs that make up a particular application. So, all of these VMs here are talking to one another. And, we're just going to say that, all of those VMs there, they make up a application, and we'll just call it accounting, right? Accounting 2, because I already have accounting out there. And it's going to then tag all of those VMs into a group called accounting 2. So now when we start to look at our data, we can look at the data as the entire environment, or we can just drill into this particular application to understand what the costs and implications of this application are on their own. So the last thing I'll show you as part of this is our ability to model those workloads in different cloud environments, and that's called the cloud simulators. So what we can do is, and I'll use the Expedient Enterprise Cloud as an example, is that I can go in and configure my environment based on the location that I want to run it in. I can choose if I want any type of DR service included, as well as a term length, right? 1, 2, 3 years. And then I can use that right sizing capability to define how I want the environment sized. I can do it as configured, meaning I'm just going to move everything to the cloud the way that it sits today. It's probably going to cost a lot more money than I wanted to. But then we can look at using peak or one of the percentile right sizings to then kind of give us an estimated annual cost to run this workload in a particular cloud. And we have several different ways that we can look at this. If we wanted to just look at that accounting application that we defined in the previous screen just by itself, now we can just narrow it down to these particular servers that make up the accounting application and kind of take a look at what that would cost, right? And the reason why that's really important is two things. One, we don't expect that most enterprises are going to be able to pick up their entire environment and move it to the cloud in one step. The second thing would be, that we also don't expect that you're going to run all of your environment in the same cloud, right? So giving you that flexibility to choose the right app or to choose your application and make sure that it goes to the right cloud based on the characteristics of that application is what's really difficult. And it is generally where we have seen folks that we talk to have some issues where, they've seen cost overrun or they've seen, different types of problems in their environment. The last thing I'll show you on the cloud simulator is that it's not just Expedient, right? We can size out environments on many different types of clouds. We'll take a look here at the VMware VMC on AWS as an example. And if we kind of drill into that same accounting application, right, we can kind of get that same level of data from an estimated annual cost perspective on those different clouds as well. So, it's a really great tool that you can get some access to. I think AJ will tell you how to get it. But then engagement with our principal technologist team is really the key, right, in helping you interpret the data and model the data correctly, so that we can help you make those difficult decisions.
Thanks, Rob. It was a great demo. So that's what we can do here. We can help you cloud smarter. We can take all of this data that we can collect in the environment, help you make the right decision, help you understand those dependencies, help you optimize all of that sizing so that you can make the right decisions going forward with your cloud. Because we are actually here with you each step of the way. First, we help you assess. Again, this is that taking the inventory of those existing workloads and determining the TCO of what you're spending today and what your TCO would be in the optimal state, whether that's AWS, Azure, or Expedient Enterprise Cloud, GCP. What does your application and IT estate look like? And what does it need to, and what are the costs associated with doing that? We can also align these costs, so align everything so that you can say, hey, this web application that we want to make more agile, let's actually align the decision that needs to happen there. Is that a refactor? Is that a lift and shift? What are we trying to get to? Do you just need resources faster? Do you want to get out of your data center? How can we help you get there as fast as you need to, and also help you optimize the costs along the way? And finally, build a migration plan so that when you actually go to make that move, you have a step-by-step set of instructions on how to do that to make sure that you are successful and land in the right cloud the first time. So how do you actually do this? Go to expedient.com/services/assessments, and you can sign up for this access to the tool that Rob was just showing you, the cloud physics tool. And we can help you figure this all the way out across the board, whether that's your AWS workloads, GCP workloads, VMware workloads, and help you assess your environments to make sure that you're making the right decisions. And if you want to learn more about our multi-cloud vision, go to expedient.com/services/multi-cloud, where you can learn about how we're helping you cloud different. So please join us throughout multi-cloud madness. Join us next week, same time on Wednesday for Cloud Safer, where we're going to help you secure your multi-cloud estate. On March 24th, for Cloud Simplified, where you'll learn more about our continuous optimization tools. And finally, on March 31st, join us in our Cloud Luminary series with Bob Evans from Cloud Wars and Gene Torres from Zerto to talk about the full power of multi-cloud from an industry level. That's a special 1-hour webinar, so please make sure to join us. And with that, we'll open it up for questions. Rob, I saw you answered a couple questions. I answered some questions here, so let's take a look here.
One that I answered kind of in the chat, but I'll highlight because it's an advertisement for your Cloud Simplified webinar, right? The comment was made that cloud billing can be quite a nightmare, and it's hard to determine how to, kind of show back or charge back those types of costs to departments or applications. So, tune into that March 25th webinar or 24th webinar. That's really going to kind of be our story around simplifying cloud operations and how we can help you with those types of things.
Seriously, we have a really great tool for doing that. We were actually just talking about it this morning. So being able to show those costs back was always a challenge of mine when I was in an operations role. And being able to see that tool and how simple it is really, really powerful. Is there a cost to install the agent to evaluate the best course to move forward in the cloud? So this is agentless, which is actually the really interesting part. There is no agent involved, but the Cloud Physics Observer, you can go to expedient.com/services/assessments to actually sign up for that. We can work with you on costs on what this would actually look like from a cost perspective, but we can help you get into the assessment, get the tool involved, get it collecting the data so that you can help understand where your workloads are and how they operate.
Next question there was, will this tool work on environments that are not virtualized? And so this particular tool is focused on virtualized environments, but our team has another couple of tools that we can use in non-virtualized environments that help us produce similar types of results.
And I think the other key part here is that this team that has this set of tools also has a ton of experience sizing environments that are not purely virtual. There's not very many organizations that are 100% virtual. They may be almost 100% virtual, 95, 96%, but there's always that legacy piece of hardware, that physical workload that still remains. So we are able to not only figure out the virtual stuff with the big tool, we also have a number of other tools and even just personal experiences and sales experience on how to actually size those and create the correct workloads and the right landing zones for them. Normally, how long does it take the tool to learn workloads across clouds? Pretty much like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, Rob, something like that.
Yeah, so we had one of our sales leaders download and deploy the tool. And note, I said sales, not engineer. Download and deploy the tool in under 10 minutes. And then we, typically start to see data coming in within under 30 minutes for sure. And then, really start to get some good data within a couple of days where we can start to make some of those predictions.
Right, because this is just like your regular workloads, right? If you're landing this and you have like end of month accounting stuff and you run the tool on the 13th, it's probably not going to pick that stuff up. So you need to let it run for a few days and maybe even a full month to actually pick up some of the fluctuations of usage in your workloads. Maybe you have end of month, mid-month, weekend reporting workloads, those sorts of things. You don't exactly have just this one constant hum in your environment. It's up and down throughout the entire month. So we generally let customers we want customers to run this for a month so we can kind of get a general idea. There's also workloads that don't run every month. They run every 6 months. They maybe run annually. So there's these sorts of fluctuations that we try to account for in, plus or minus percentiles. But this is why we let it run for longer than 30 minutes. Because if it was just 30 minutes, we get all the data, it'd be magic and miracles. So we want to make sure that we're catching the most accurate data possible to make the right decisions along with you. Rob, you want to take that sizing one?
Yeah, sure. So the question is, when it comes to sizing tools and data gathering, are there, key items that we recommend including? And I guess I'll start by saying that we spent the better part of 9 months evaluating different cloud platform tools like this, and it did proof of concepts with several. Looked at their capabilities, their roadmap, their ease of use, and a variety of different factors to come to the decision to use this particular tool. There's a lot of things out there on the marketplace. None of them is the silver bullet, but that's really kind of where we think we can help. Is right. We've already spent all that time. We've kind of already taken the opportunity to understand the marketplace, and we talk to hundreds of customers a month, so we kind of get a pretty good sense of what the industry is looking for. And then, from that pure data collection perspective, right, being able to gather data from multiple sources and then intelligently use that data to make a decision, that was really key for us. Lots of tools can give you the data, but that engine to be able to model in different cloud platforms with different sizing, different specifications, different performance criteria was really important in our analysis.
And I think the really interesting part was the ability to play with that data live. Right? You can put it, here's as it sits today, here's right sized, here's AWS, here's Azure, but lining all of that up live and doing it very, very quickly. I mean, you can do all of this stuff yourself. You can take your workloads and shove them into the AWS calculator or the Azure calculator and play, pivot table games basically to try and make all this data line up. Out of the box, this tool is capable of delivering that, and you get the experience of the Expedient expert practitioners to be able to land the right workloads and even make the right decisions, even beyond just this is how much it costs today, this is how much it would cost in AWS. Take it beyond that to say, hey, this would actually be better if you refactored this application or changed this application to utilize some other tool set, some other platform that would actually potentially save you more money, even beyond just moving VM from point A to point B. So I'm going to wrap it up for today. Mark McCrae is the winner of the Smart TV, so congratulations to Mark. Karen will be reaching out to you here soon. Again, go to expedient.com/services/assessments to sign up for our assessment tool, and take a look at expedient.com/services/multi-cloud to understand our full cloud different message. We have a lot more to talk about, not just this month, but for the rest of the year. This is a big, big platform going forward. We're really, really excited about this. And again, continue to join us throughout Multi-Cloud Madness. We have our Cloud Safer Simplified and different webinars for the rest of the month. Also part of that Drive for 5. If you attend all 5 webinars, you get exclusive Cloud Different swag, t-shirts, hats. They look really, really cool. So you should make sure that you join all 5 of these at the end. Very, very excited for that, the Cloud Luminary one on the 31st. Thank you for joining us today. We will see you next week. Thanks.